As the community knows, on July 17th, 2015, Officer Connor Schilling shot his gun, and Darrius Stewart died as a result of those gunshot wounds. When I learned of Darrius Stewart's death, I asked the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation to conduct the investigation into that death, pursuant to my statutory authority under the Tennessee Code Annotated. And since that weekend, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has been doing that, conducting an investigation. This morning, delivered to me, was the results of that Tennessee Bureau of Investigation work. It's over 600 pages. It is volumes of information. And I will begin the process of reviewing that report and making the determination under the law of the state of Tennessee whether criminal charges are warranted. I ask for patience from the community. This has been a thorough and exhaustive investigation, and the review that I give and that this office gives to that report will be just as thorough and just as exhaustive. More than anything, it is our responsibility to make sure justice is done in this case and every case that this office handles. I know that we talked, when this was announced that Tennessee Bureau of Investigation was going to be conducting this, we talked a lot about transparency and the fact that under the law of the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation reports are treated differently than MPD and Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agency reports. It is my hope that at the appropriate time, under the appropriate circumstances, and again, pursuant to the law of the state of Tennessee, that some, if not all, of this report may be made available to the public. And with that, I'll open it up to
Can
questions.
you at least, at that point, discuss your findings? Or well, that's something that's still questionable, right?
Oh, sure. So what, I guess kind of in terms of a timetable, what will happen is I will walk back into my office and I will begin reviewing this large file and making the determination, as we do with the hundreds of matters that are delivered to our office from investigative agencies throughout the year, whether criminal charges are warranted under the law of the state of Tennessee. So depending on what that decision is, that dictates two different roads that we might go down. Yes.
What I was asking is, when you go through it finally and you plow through all the information and you've reached a determination, you were saying that the TBI investigation under law is handled differently. But will you be able to say at that point what your findings are one way or the other?
Yes.
Okay, so you will be able to say
of
that.
course.
So the community
Yes.
will know how you feel. You know.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Can you give us an idea of what's in there, what's in the file, interviews, or?
Well, I would imagine it's all of that. Just like with any file that we are delivered from TBI or the state troopers or MPD or the sheriff's office, it is a lot of forensics. I'm sure I know there's an autopsy report in there. I know they've talked to witnesses. I know they've taken statements. But no, I mean, it was literally delivered to this office this morning. So I have not had any time to begin going through it. But just based on my years in this office, I would imagine that's what's there.
Does that mean that TBI is done with the investigation?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because that was one thing I wanted to make sure I touched on and I forgot to. As with any case, investigations, though it's complete and it's been delivered to me, they're ongoing. I may start looking through this file and I may determine that there's some more information that I need, or I may determine there's some testing that needs to be done. And I will pick up the phone and I'll call TBI and ask them to do that. So as with any investigation, they're really never complete until, sometimes when you go to trial and begin picking a jury.
There's a new coalition of Darrius Stewart's family and friends asking for a weekly update from you all. Are you willing to accommodate that? I'm
aware of that, and we have spoken about that with several groups over the last couple of days. Yes, I am aware of that. It's one of those things, I guess the update could be, we're still going through the file. We're still going through the file. But until there is something that under the law and pursuant to the ethics that I have to uphold as a prosecutor, until there is information that I can share with the public, I can't do that. But we will certainly, I understand the need for the community to know what's going on. But that's why it was so important for me to ask you all to help us spread the word that we need patience right now. We need everyone to just let us do the job that we're sworn to do which is justice.
Can you explain to us exactly, you've had to handle cases before where officers have used deadly force. Can you explain what the law is a little bit about officers using deadly force and what you have to look at as a prosecutor in these cases?
It's not the law of officers using force. It's the law in the state of Tennessee that every citizen is protected by, and it's called self-defense. And so when there have been situations in the past where a homicide is ruled justifiable, whether it's someone with a badge and a gun who pulled the trigger, or whether it's a homeowner or a business owner. Just 2 weeks ago, we had someone going into a mini mart that was, someone tried to rob, and they shot and killed them. That same law protects every citizen in the state of Tennessee.
General, do you plan to take this to a grand jury, or do you plan to make a decision on your own?
I will begin reviewing the file, and then we will make that decision if criminal charges are warranted.
I'd also like to ask as well, you talked about as soon as you'd heard about this case that you took it to the TBI. TBI made note of it in a press conference, I think it was last month, that there was a period of 3 days where they hadn't heard anything. So
kind of how it unfolded was I learned of Darrius Stewart's death on July 18th, the Saturday afternoon. I called TBI, I called Mark Gwynn that night and asked. At that point, though, MPD had been investigating. They had been investigating since the shooting occurred and up until that moment when I learned of it. I called Director Gwynn, and on Monday morning he had an agent here in this office, and we went up and met with Director Armstrong, and the file was, MPD removed themselves from the investigation and TBI began the investigation. Yeah.
It's clearly a large file. But do you expect your determination to come in a matter of days, a matter of weeks?
I hate to even give a timetable to it. We want to make sure we are thorough and fair. And so whatever time that takes.
All
right, thank y'all.
I've done a few stories on checking passengers. Any insight on why Darrius Stewart was checked to begin with?
I can't get into that right now. Yeah, I can't comment.
All right, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We'll definitely let you know if there's any procedural updates.
Thank you, sir.
And that way you'll get it through us, through Larry and I. Otherwise, just wait until we get something we can put on the record.
All right.
Because right now, much of that stuff is just supposition and innuendo if you don't know what's in the file. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.